Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I talks about... No, that doesn't sound right. I cover the week that was in pro wrestling. So that goes for Monday Night Raw, NWA Power, AEW Dynamite, which just had their big show in Arthur Ashe, Impact Wrestling, and an MLW Fusion. And it was an interesting week, to say the least. So let's get us started with Monday Night Raw. And we start off with a Cody Rhodes promo. Pretty much saying, you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about Jey Uso. Immediately interrupted by Dom Mysterio. Pretty much saying, the only thing they need to know about Jey is once he joins the Judgment Day, we're going to continue our dominance. And while Rhea isn't here, she'll be back and better than ever once she is. And then after I beat you here tonight, I'm dedicating my victory to Rhea. And Cody retorts pretty much, look, this is obviously a big night for you, but what does it do? Does this win define your relationship with Rhea? Because I'm getting a Steve Urkel, Winslow relationship vibe in which, yeah, he ain't wrong. He definitely ain't wrong. And Cody continues, it almost seems like she has eyes for Jey, which, now wouldn't that be something? In which Dom retorts, look, we're all a family, and family has each other's back. This brings out Finn Balor and Priest. No JD McDonough, in which I thought it was already confirmed that he was in the Judgment Day, but I guess he's still kind of an outlier, but we'll see what happens with the story comes full circle. This leads to Dominic Mysterio versus Cody Rhodes one-on-one. Cody starts off white hot, tries for a figure four, but Dom immediately gets in the rope. Finn Balor then pulls Cody Rhodes off the apron, which that was interesting. Comes back in. Dom tries for the Three Amigos. That gets countered on the third one. Cody Cutter, Crossroads, your winner, Cody Rhodes. And then we get Judgment Day surrounding Cody Rhodes on the apron. Looks like they're about to attack. Down comes Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to make the save. Judgment Day run off. But then Kevin Owens has a mic. It looks like Cody Rhodes is going up the ramp. He asks, hey, Cody, can you come back here? We gotta talk about something for a second. And then that's our first commercial, in which WWE, you gotta work on that. You're kind of interrupting the flow of your own show with that. So, anyway, they come back for an ad. Pretty much ask, look, why did you bring Jey Uso to Raw? There is a locker room full of guys that he's screwed up. He and the Bloodline has screwed over. Now, why was it a good idea to bring Jey back? Cody's like, yeah, you already know why. No, we don't. We don't know why. Pretty much says, yo, he makes these people happy. Which, admittedly, I do like Jey Uso. So, we'll see what happens there. Then Sami Zayn gets on the mic, pretty much is like, look, KO, we're giving this guy a second chance. He could be changed, and if not, we could kick his butt easily. But ultimately, Bloodline is now down a member. And honestly, we've given each other so many second chances that it's silly. And if we didn't give each other a second chance, we wouldn't have been tag team champions. Facts, Mr. Zayn. Facts. And then Kevin Owens is like, alright, I see where this is going. And while I can't fully trust Jay, I will at least pretend. But if you remember, Jay cost us the tag team titles. He cost you your chance at the WWE title. He's costed me multiple times. And I'm also going to pretend he's not one shade of eyeliner from joining Judgment Day. While I don't trust him, I'll trust the both of you, and I hope you're right. A nice, I wouldn't say deep promo, but it does kind of move the story along, which is what Raw has kind of been missing for a little bit. And this next match is one-on-one. You got Kofi Kingston versus Ivar of the Viking Raiders. This was supposed to be a tag team match and a 2 out of 3 falls match, which is interesting. But it got changed to a one-on-one contest. I think Woods suffered an injury, and then Eric was just bold because. Yeah, we get this match, and it was a masterpiece. You see what happens when you let two competitors go at their best? They do their best. Including a big moonsault from Ivar, which ultimately misses. Then Kofi with the Trouble in Paradise for the victory. So, honestly, gonna give this match his flowers. Definitely a big thumbs up from me. And hopefully we get to see maybe Eric versus Xavier Woods somewhere. I think that would be fun. Next up, we got a nice little Ricochet interview. Pretty much saying, look, tonight, Nakamura, you're not going to be looking past me. You attacked me last week, but you fired me up. So tonight, let's play, because I'm the human cheat code. Which, nice little promo from Ricochet. Which leads into Shinsuke Nakamura versus Ricochet. However, before the match can get started, Seth Rollins comes out. Gets face-to-face with Nakamura. But then Nakamura hides behind the security for a minute, and then he just starts. And then Seth Rollins is sent to the back. We then get right into Ricochet versus Nakamura, which definitely felt like a step down from Ivar versus Kofi. But I still had fun with it. This was definitely a decent little match. I do hope they have another match somewhere down the line. But ultimately, after Nakamura gets a little frustrated, he's thrown everything at Ricochet. He goes out, grabs a chair from ringside, misses the chair shot. Ricochet then picks it up and just starts wailing on Nakamura, causing the DQ win. Which then leads post-match to a low blow by Nakamura and a Kinshasa. And a continued attack to the leg, including chair shots, which, that's brutal. Then Seth Rollins comes out, makes the save. He tries for a pedigree, and then that gets countered. Nakamura with the backdrop, which lands Seth Rollins on the back on a chair, which, that looked rough. So then Nakamura walks off. Rollins gets help backstage. Ref, an official is trying to get Seth Rollins to the trainer's room. Seth is like, no, I'm good. Collapses for a minute. And then goes into the trainer's room to get looked at. Hopefully Seth is okay. I do feel for the man with back issues. So, yeah. We then get an interview from current women's tag team champions, Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Pretty much saying, are they formidable? No, they're not even a real tag team. What makes a real team is friendship. And then Niven turns around, are we friends? Alright, if we're such good friends, what country am I from? And then Chelsea Green's like, Florida? And then Piper walks off. Chelsea Green finishes up. We're going to show what a real tag team is. So then that leads to the tag team match playa as Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, in which another Franken team, but whatever, taking on Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Green definitely gets her butt kicked early on in the matchup, but then Piper Niven comes in, definitely tries to even the odds a little bit, but then, in the end, Nia Jax attacks Piper Niven, which that sets up a DQ win for Green and Niven. And that frustrates me because we just had a DQ finish in the last match, and having these back to back, it feels more and more like Vince McMahon is back in creative. He would pull this all the time. But whatever. Nia Jax then runs through everyone in the match, including an annihilator to Chelsea Green, which that looked rough. Then we get Adam Pearce backstage. He's on the phone. He's talking to somebody. I'm going to assume it's Vince. Then Chad Gable walks up along with the rest of Alpha Academy. Pretty much saying, look, I beat Kaiser last week. What chance would I get to have a rematch against Gunther? Then Bronson Reed rolls up. He says, yeah, you gotta earn it, pal. And you're the back of the line. And I'm inching my way towards the front. You want to fight? Then Adam Pearce, Senior Jax, before punches can be thrown, says, alright, you want to handle this? Handle this in the ring. Then we get a Jey Uso interview saying, everything's good for me now. There's a lot of eyes on me instead of the Judgment Day. And I intend to make some real history. Then Damian Priest interrupts. Pretty much says, look, I'm asking you for a favor tonight, Jay. I want Jey Uso in the Judgment Day. Judgment Day isn't a dictatorship like it was with the Bloodline. We're all about family. And what we got is special. And if you're willing, we're the family you're looking for. So at the end of the night, we need an answer. So, ultimatum for Jimmy Uso for the week. We'll see where it goes. We then get Chad Gable versus Bronson Reed. And honestly, it was kind of a basic, big guy versus little guy match. While it was fun to see Chad Gable attempting to suplex Bronson Reed, eventually he does get it. This definitely felt like an extended squash match in which Reed hits the Samoan drop into a tsunami for the win, which I don't know. Bronson Reed has been really just cold lately, and I don't know if this win does anything for him. I mean, maybe we're going to see a Chad Gable versus Bronson Reed feud for a while they rebuild Chad Gable, and then eventually have him dethrone Gunther for the Intercontinental title. We'll see what happens. We then get a Tommaso Ciampa promo backstage, sitting on a chair right in front of, the gate, pretty much saying, "Look, I've been playing nice all along. I've been patient, waiting for my number to be called. Being patient is a curse. Imperium, you chose me. Gunther, you have what you want. Now I get what I want." So it looks like Ciampa's going for the Intercontinental title. I was hoping for Johnny Gargano and him to team up eventually. But we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going on with Gargano. We then get Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the back. They're kind of talking their title rematch for next week when Jey Uso interrupts. And he says to Kevin Owens, "Look, if you got something to say it to my face." And then Gale says, "Look, you've spent your entire career with the Bloodline, and now you're just going to run to Judgment Day. At this point, I don't care. I don't trust you either way." Then Kevin Owens walks off. Jay then says to Sammy, "Hey, handle your boy, will ya?" And Sammy's like, "Alright, let's just chill. We don't know what's going on, but you definitely got a decision to make." And he walks off. We then get a Becky Lynch promo inside the ring, pretty much boasting about her NXT Women's title win. And she says, "Look, I don't want to just be the champion. I want to defend my title all over the place. And NXT represents the future. I want to test myself against the best. And tonight I'm going to issue an open challenge to anyone in the back." And this brings out Natalya. And look, don't get me wrong. I like Natalya. She's a great wrestler. Originally, the plan was to have Tegan Nox in this spot. But then she got switched out for Natalya, who was set to have a match on Main Event. And no, I will not be covering Main Event. So, Natalya's like, "Look, you can issue your open challenge all you want. You say NXT is the future, but you jumped in the line of so many hardworking kids down there. But now I want my turn." And Becky Lynch is like, "Okay, let's do it." Which leads right into Becky Lynch versus Natalya. A solid enough matchup. I wouldn't say it was anything to write home about. But ultimately, it was alright. Definitely a lot of counters to the Disarmer and the Manhandle Slam, which that was definitely interesting. Natalya looked like she was going to lock in the Sharpshooter. That gets countered into the roll-up for the Becky Lynch victory. We then get backstage Dragon Lee, who next week is going to challenge Dominic Mysterio for the NXT North American title on Raw. So, keep your eye on that guy. He's pretty much talking to Adam Pearce. Then Dom Mysterio interrupts, pretty much says, "You're not doing your job punishing Nia Jax after what she did to Rhea." And then he looks at Dragon Lee, pretty much says, "I don't like guys with masks." They remind me of my deadbeat father, Ray. But I'm going to beat you next week, and I'm still going to be the champ. Dragon Lee says, yeah, next week, you better hold that title close, because I'm going to be winning that title. We then lead into Giovanni Vinci versus Tommaso Ciampa in a decent low TV match, where Ludwig Kaiser tried to get involved in this match, but ultimately wasn't that big of an issue. And to finish, Ciampa locks in the Gargano escape for the submission victory. Then on the ramp, you see Kaiser and Vinci talking it out. Please don't break up Imperium. I don't need it. I don't need it. Keep them together. Then we get a Seth Rollins interview. He's trying to keep a straight face as the interviewer is asking questions. He then lets down his glasses, puts on a serious face, says, I'm tired. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm trying to keep it together. I'm sick of Nakamura and his mind games. But I don't want it to go down like this. But I have to. Nakamura, I'm taking the hands off the wheel. The ball is in your court. And our destinies are intertwined. So, it looks like we're going to see Nakamura come up with the terms of combat for their next world title match. Should be a fun one. I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be at Fastlane, but we'll see. And we are in the main event, as it's Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso, taking on Drew McIntyre. And honestly, it starts with Drew dominating a bit, but then Jey fights back a little. This brings out the Judgment Day, who, are looking for the answer. Match continues as normal-ish as it could. Then Judgment Day gets involved a little bit, including Damian Priest firing up Jey Uso. Jey Uso looks like he's going to hit a super kick. Eats a Claymore for the Drew McIntyre victory. We then have Judgment Day surrounding Jey. They start... before that, Judgment Day surround Jey. Looks like they're looking for an answer. And then Jey just super kicks all of them. But the numbers are too much. They start beating down Jey Uso. And then you have Drew kind of looking over his shoulder on the ramp. He's like, what do I do here? What do I do? And Cody Rhodes makes the save. And tries to hit a crossroads on Dom. But Damian Priest makes the save of him. So, that is it for Monday Night Raw. Overall, here's my issue with WWE right now. Ever since they separated Roman and Cody to two different brands, and now Jimmy and Jay to two different brands, the whole Bloodline saga and all the players involved have really felt like they fizzled out. Now, are these stories kind of interesting? Sure. But I feel like they could have gone on a little more with the will Jay join the Judgment Day story. I think there was still some mileage we could have gotten out of that. But overall, action was good for Raw. We now get into NWA Power, where we start with a vignette for the rivalry between La Rebellion and the Brothers of Construction, which this feud looks to be continuing, which I am here for. We then get our first match of the evening, which is a triple threat match, where the winner goes on to Sawe I think the name of the pay-per-view is. Where the winner will challenge Kenzie Page for the women's title. Participants, we got Ruthie J, Natalia Markova, and Missa Kate. Now, Missa Kate's normal tag team partner actually just had a tryout for the WWE. So, we'll see how that goes. But, to start, Missa Kate and Ruthie J start double teaming Markova for a bit. Action was really, really smooth between all three of these ladies. But ultimately, the finish comes after a beautiful frog splash from Ruthie J to pick up the victory and move on to the pay-per-view. I'm definitely going to give this a thumbs up. It was a great match. We then get an interview segment with EC3 and Jamie Stanley. Jamie Stanley is, of course, a manager now, which is odd. And Stanley starts off the interview hyping up both his boys, Kobe Carino and Joe Alonzo. Calls them two of the best, absolute champions. And they're going to put on the exhibition of their lives October 28th at Shawway as Kobe Carino takes on Joe Alonzo for the junior heavyweight title. That should be a dang good match. Then we get to EC3 promo where he calls his title win Lifetime Destiny. I'm going to defend the title anywhere versus anyone, including next week against Jay Bradley of the Fixers. That should be an interesting little matchup. That should be a fun one. We then get a video recap of Tyrus's retirement speech at NWA 75. Thank God. So, it looks like Tyrus won't be a thing for a while. We then get Zion in his Power debut, I believe. No, he's definitely had matches on Power. Taking on Boz, a newcomer to NWA, and honestly, it was definitely a short match, but it was an entertaining match. Boz definitely got a lot of good offense in. But your winner after a Z clutch, which is a great name for a finisher, Zion. We then get an interview by the Ice Insane Clown Posse member, Violent J. Looks like he's sticking around in the NWA for a bit. Pretty much saying, look, I've been watching wrestling as a fan for years. I've been peeping it out hard. And I'm going to bitch slap all three members of La Rebellion. And I got nothing to lose. You guys are getting brave. Bottom line, I got hurt. And only hurt from the betrayal from Vampiro. Because apparently they were boys back in WCW. The Dark Carnival stable. And he ends it with saying, Vampiro, there's a debt that has yet to be paid. Which... Nice little promo from really a non-wrestler, which should be interesting. Then we get a Mims and Maddie Rankowski interview in which, that's interesting. I thought Maddie had a tryout, but yeah, this was taped like way before. Maddie pretty much says, Camille's in the history book. Her foundation is cracked. And I've heard a rumor she doesn't want to wrestle anymore. I want to make a change, and while I got beat, oh, this is actually Mims now, who's saying, I got beat, but this opportunity is going to be different. I'm going to go for what's rightfully mine and win the television title. So he's going to be a part of the next Fatal 4-Way, where the winner challenges Zicky Dice for the now vacant TV title. And actually, speaking of a former TV champion, we got Tom Latimer, the former champion, taking on Rush Freeman. And, honestly, this was a surprisingly quick matchup. Like, Tom Latimer dominated for the most part. Rush did get in a Blue Thunder Bomb, but that was only a 1 count. Eventually, Latimer locked in the crossface for the submission victory. So, it looks like they're going to be pushing Mr. Latimer pretty hard. Not sure if he's going to win the title at Sawe. But crazier things have happened. We then get an interview from Chris Silvio Esquire, including his now single-minded manage of Blake Troop. Silvio pretty much says, look, the Savages now are stronger than ever. Interviewer asked about Troop's former partner, Jack Stain. Pretty much saying, look, don't use that name in association with the Savages. And then Silvio pretty much says, look, Jax, you had your shot to take out Tim Storm at NWA 75, but you're weak. You showed your weakness by not pressing the attack. Troop, you're not weak. He's a future champion, and you can cheer him all you want. Oh. And Troop is just getting started. Then Troop finishes off with the tap, snap, or nap, which nice little addition to that promo. We then get a ringside interview from BFT, where Aaron Stevens, the former Damian Sandow, pretty much says, look, ever since NWA 75, when we beat Knoxon Murdoch, clean as a whistle, you two have been crying your eyes out. Both of you need nursing. But next week, we're going to prove to you what we can do, and we're going to embarrass you and retain our titles. So, nice, short and sweet promo from Aaron Stevens, which leads right into our main event, a tag team match, player, as La Rebellion. That's Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666, along with their manager Vampiro, take on Magic Inc. That's Magic Jake Dumas and Cody Parker, I'm gonna call him. I forget his full name. Overall, yeah, this was a really good, well-paced matchup. La Rebellion definitely had the advantage for a bit, but then out comes, who else? The Brothers of Construction and Violent J. With Violent J taking out Vampiro, Brothers of Construction kind of on the ramp, distracting the La Rebellion. And then with a big old roll up from Magic Jake, your winners, Magic Inc. So, Brothers of Construction are still going to feud with La Rebellion for a bit. And honestly, I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to see what they got next. Overall, a very well built episode of NWA Power. And getting me hyped for the next pay-per-view. Next up, we got AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, which took place at Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York. And we got a title versus title match as Ring of Honor champion Claudio Castagnoli takes on New Japan Strong Openweight champion Eddie Kingston. And oh boy, this was a hard-hitting, well planned out affair, because these two do not like each other. It might be one-sided, like their beef goes back to Chikara, which Eddie Kingston blames Claudio for leaving the Indies high and dry, going to the WWE. And yeah, honestly, this was a great matchup, in which ends with a couple of back fists and a power bomb, and your winner and new Ring of Honor champion Eddie Kingston. And to hear that crowd go that nuts for this man, I loved it. It was great. Post-match, Claudio Castagnoli extends his hand for a handshake. Eddie Kingston's kind of thinking it over a little bit, but then they shake hands. So, it does look like they have a little bit more respect for one another. So, yeah, we'll see where this goes from here. I'm going to give this match a big old thumbs up. It was a great way to open the show. And honestly, an awesome way to finish a feud. Although, I do wish it was at a Ring of Honor pay-per-view instead of... Although this is like the biggest Dynamite show AEW does. So next up, we get a Roderick Strong update in which he's still in the neck brace, but he's in the hospital. Kingdom are at his bedside. And Matt Taven reads him a card I'm sure he sent in, which, honestly, that's funny. Pretty much saying, we wish we could be as neck strong as you. Honestly, I love this. This is a great little thing Roderick Strong can do. In comes Adam Cole. Kingdom pretty much say, "Oh, you're late. What are you doing here?" Cole is like, "Yeah, of course I came. Roddy, are you doing all right?" Then Matt Taven's like, "Look, you show up now when we got to go. So good luck." Then Roddy Strong opens his eyes, sees Cole. He's saying, "You doing alright? Hey, listen, man, I gotta go too. I need to be in MJF's corner for his match." And then Roddy's like, "What about me?" And then he kind of sits up in his bed. Then he says, "Look, just go. Do what you gotta do." Then we get a Christian Cage interview. Pretty much says, "Look, I've had a ton of experience defending our title," which, honestly, this is another great story AEW is telling. "I'm ready to move on from you, Darby Allin. Well, it doesn't seem like you're ready to move on from me. So I have a proposition for you. This Saturday on Collision, I propose a 3-way match for the title, and Sting is barred from ringside. And with me and my right hand of destruction, you got as much chance at winning of the Mets and Yankees winning a championship this year." In which, where's the lie? No, but seriously, that was a great finisher. Nice little stinger right at the end. Next matchup, we got Chris Jericho taking on Sammy Guevara in what was a not so crisp match. I'm not saying it was bad per se, but it wasn't these two at their best. Sammy Guevara definitely ducked a Judas effect kind of early on. Sammy tried for a Jericho salt, but that missed. A Lion salt, sorry. Jericho then hits it. Near the end, Sammy Guevara goes for a shooting star press. That gets countered right into a code breaker, which that was awesome. And Jericho picks up the victory. And Jericho extends his hand to Sammy, but instead they hug it out. Looks like they're all good. And then Sammy Guevara, low blow to Jericho. And who comes out? But Don Callis. So it looks like Sammy Guevara has joined the Don Callis family, which, that's going to continue the story on Rampage. I'll get to that on Monday. But while the finish was good, and the overall the match was fine. I think it's the only kind of low point on the show for me. We then get a promo of MJF and Adam Cole, not just backstage, but kind of in the parking area. You have MJF and Adam Cole getting out of MJF's Lambo, which, holy shit, that's nice. And also, Adam Cole having a Better Than You, Baby Mets style t-shirt, which is, dude, that's an awesome shirt. I kind of want it. With MJF pretty much saying, look, Joe, I've held this heat on you for 8 years, and tonight I bash your skull in. You took things from me, Joe, and you messed up. And tonight I'm going to choke you out, and the last thing you hear is MJF. MJF. And while he's doing this promo, Adam Cole gets a phone call. He answers it. He's like, hello? Oh, yeah, I'll be on my way. And MJF's like, oh, what's going on? Where are you going? Look, it's Roddy. He needs some help. I'm going to go check on him. And he runs off. So, will this factor into the main event? We'll see. We then get Don Callis and Sammy Guevara walking around backstage. They run into Daniel Garcia, in which Sammy's like, no, don't. This guy ain't worth it. We're not going to go. And then they walk off. Next up, we got the international title on the line as Rey Fenix takes on Jon Moxley. And, woo, boy, this was a nice little clash of styles. With Rey Fenix obviously bringing Lucha Libre, while Mox brings the ground and the pound. However, this finished very, very scarily as Rey Fenix hits the Phoenix Driver, and it looked like Moxley landed right on the top of his head. Ref only counted 2 for some reason, and then Phoenix hit it again for the 3 count. So your winner, new international champion, Rey Fenix. Now, I'm going to say this. I think an audible was called. From what I'm hearing, Jon Moxley suffered a concussion. Although apparently it wasn't from the pile driver. It was from earlier. Which, John, you please take some time off. You definitely need it. Overall, though, match itself was really, really good. Hopefully Moxley gets better soon, and we could see a rematch down the line. Then we get a Samoa Joe promo, pretty much saying, "I can feel it tonight, Max. Can you? Tonight will be a great celebration and a night of consequences. You can hold that belt for a bit, but when I smash you, beat you, not your future for your title." So, yep, nice little hype up for that matchup. Then we get our semi-main event of the evening, and it's for the AEW Women's title as Toni Storm takes on Saraya. And honestly, I think this is the best AEW Women's match of the year. Some great character work from Toni Storm. Some great stuff from Saraya and Ruby Soho. In which, actually, to start it off, Toni Storm wants to give Saraya a hug. Saraya then just goes right at her. Ruby Soho then tries to give Saraya the spray paint. It ends up in Toni Storm's hand, who then hits the spray paint in the eyes of Saraya. Hits a hip attack on an exposed turnbuckle, only for a 2 count, and then Knight goes for a nightcap from the second rope for the victory, and still AEW Women's Champion Saraya. Honestly, easily the best women's match AEW has put on. No offense to anyone on the women's roster, this felt like it was a nice little finish to a story. Although, I don't think it's done. I think we see Toni Storm fall deeper into her mental shortcomings. We then get, Samoa Joe making his normal entrance. Then we get a little video of MJF interacting with a young fan backstage, in which it's a parody of an old Bret Hart promo that he did. Look it up. It's actually really similar. And then instead of MJF giving glasses, he gives him his Burberry scarf. But then he leans down into the kid's ear. But then the kid turns to his father and says, "I'm adopted?" Dude, that got me. That got me so good. MJF is just a... he's a bastard, but he's my bastard, man. This obviously brings out MJF, who's in, full Mets gear. His jacket is Mets colored, his singlet, his knee pads. And it gives me hope. I mean, I know he's not associated with the Mets in any way. But, let me tell you, MJF, he looks good in stripes. And this match was very quick to the get-go. A lot of really good back and forth between these two. Including Joe about halfway hitting a Death Valley driver on the apron, which that looked rough. MJF hitting the kangaroo kick on Samoa Joe, which popped everybody. In which the kangaroo kick is over. Who would have known? For a while, Samoa Joe had MJF in the Coquina clutch. Out comes Adam Cole, who, running down the ramp, it definitely looked like he messed up his ankle. Then he comes ringside, cheers on MJF. MJF then brings out his Dynamite Diamond Ring, decides not to use it. gets Joe in the sleeper, but Joe gets out of it, including into a ref bump, which the ref took a powder. Then MJF, out of nowhere, I don't know where he got this, but he got like a chain, and he starts choking Joe with it, like let Princess Leia and Jabba the Hutt. And and then MJF put him in the Coquina Clutch for the submission victory. Post-match, Adam Cole's in the ring, checking on MJF. Joe then pushes Cole, but MJF stands in the way, stands between them. Samoa Joe then extends his hand. MJF starts thinking, oh, should I? And then they shake. A kind of, I wouldn't say a show of respect, but a show from Joe of, oh, you had to do a lot to beat me, so I'm going to give you your props. Overall, a very good, a very fun episode of AEW Dynamite. And honestly, for shows like this, AEW brings it every single time. So, yeah, definitely a big thumbs up from me from this show. Next up, we got Impact Wrestling. And it's a continuation of the 1000th episode of Impact. And yes, I know it's technically 1001, but let's let them have it. And we start off with Ultimate X, where the winner has to climb some scaffolding, hand over fist, climb some cables, bring down an X, and they are the number one contender for the X Division title. Participants, we got Rich Swann, Samurai Del Sol, the former Kalisto, Speedball Mike Bailey, Alan Five Angels, former Tag Team Champion Ace Austin, and current Tag Team Champion Zachary Wentz. And honestly, this was X Division goodness at its best, including Ace Austin and I believe it was Rich Swann shaking the top ropes, the cables crossing to make the X, to get a couple guys down. Then we get a pretty interesting triple dive from the top rope. Eventually, Alan Angels gets up there, unhooks the X, but now he's got to drop down. And he's pretty much surrounded on all sides, including the bottom. So then he just lets go. And your new number one contender for the X Division title, Alan Angels. We then get a nice little promo of him backstage saying, I'm the future of the X Division, and I'm not just going to carry this around my neck like a certain someone else. I'm going to be cashing this in immediately. So next week, Chris Sabin, I'm coming for you. Alan Angels versus Chris Sabin. Yes, please. Overall, Ultimate X, I gotta give it a thumbs up. It's one of my favorite stipulations Impact does. It's pretty much a ladder match without the ladder. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, we then go right into Dirty Dango versus Jake Something. And to start it off, Jake Something went right into, tried to hit into the void right away, but Dirty Dango slips out. He's then on the outside, and he pushes Alpha Bravo, who, if you remember him, he was the valet for Taya Valkyrie and John Mundo. Now that they're gone, he's kind of on his own. And then Dango does get a bit of offense in before and into the void. And your winner, Jake Something. We then get a backstage promo from Steve Maclin, pretty much saying, Rhino, you cost me a case. I need to finish. Obviously, I didn't finish the job, and I need to. And I'm going to end your career. This brings out Rhino, who gores him right into the backstage setup. Then we get Santino rolling up. Pretty much says, look, Rhino, you messed up the match I had planned for tonight. And Rhino retorts, look, this isn't my fault. What happens next, that's on him, not me. And then we get the most convoluted thing I have ever seen. It starts out as a try on a one-on-one as Kenny King, who is seconded by Sheldon Jean, takes on Eric Young, who is joined by head coach Scott D'Amore. And, Eric Young on Kenny King immediately, hip toss, and then Jean rolls into the ring, attacks Young, and Kenny King and Sheldon Jean start beating down Young. So that causes a DQ win. Scott D'Amore comes in and just wham with this hockey stick to Sheldon Jean. Then out comes Shark Boy, who is the acting assistant GM for the show. Pretty much says, look, I don't want that match to end that way. So, instead, we're going to have a tag team match. We're going to have Scott D'Amore and Eric Young versus King and Jean. That match does get started, but after 5 seconds, out comes Cody Deaner and Khan, who attack Team Canada with King and Jean, continuing the beatdown. And then Shark Boy's like, no. That match ain't ending like that either. I see an 8-man tag. And Team Canada, I got some really good partners for you who are itching for a fight. And they paved the way for the TNA tag division. And out comes America's Most Wanted, James Storm and Wildcat Chris Harris. Easily one of my favorite tag teams from TNA of old. And then we go right into the 8-man tag team match. We have Team Canada, that's EY and Coach Scott D'Amore. America's Most Wanted, that's Wildcat Chris Harris and Cowboy James Storm. Taking on Kenny King, Sheldon Jean, and the Design, which is Khan and Cody Deaner. And, everyone pretty much gets their stuff in. It's definitely an interesting little back and forth between all of them. And then we get a Sky High from Scott D'Amore, which that was impressive. Pile Driver from Eric Young. Your winners, Team Canada and America's Most Wanted. Then we go backstage for the reveal of the Feast or Fired cases. But first, we get a little promo from last week from Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley, aka Team 3D. Pretty much saying, look, there's no place we'd rather be than Impact Wrestling. And there's no place we'd rather have a match. Then Devon gets on the microphone, pretty much says, I'd like to thank everyone for welcoming me back with open arms, and it's because of you that I wanted to come back. And oh my brother, testify! Oh, I love that line. I love Team 3D came back. Hopefully, Devon stays healthy for even a short little run. So then we get backstage for the Feast or Fired reveal. Interviewer goes down the line. And apparently Yuya Uemura, Moose, and Chris Bay won the tag team title case because apparently they're all tag teams. But then Greasy Steve wants a heart, maybe some lungs, which... Okay, then. So then we start to get the reveal. We start with number 1, which is Crazy Steve. He opens it, gets a shot at the digital media title. Now, this is an interesting substitution because usually that's a number 1 contendership for the X Division. But because of Ultimate X, that got replaced by the digital media title, which I'm definitely okay with that. And then Steve walks off muttering something. I didn't really catch it. Then Moose, along with Brian Myers, open up their case. They kind of peek in. He gets a world title shot. He then apologizes to Myers, but then says, yeah, this is bigger than just a tag team title shot. And they walk off, which leaves Chris Bay and Yuya Uemura. Next up, Chris Bay opens his. He gets the tag team title shot with Ace Austin. They're celebrating a little bit. And then you get Yuya saying, no title, no champions. And you see Joe Hendry just blown away, just super upset. They open the case, show the camera, fired. So, I'm going to say this. I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen because Yuya, while he was a regular on Impact for a while now, eventually, he was pretty much on loan from New Japan, which is what New Japan would do. They would send some of their younger guys out on hiatuses, on go international and wrestle elsewhere. Big example was Okada back in the day when he was in TNA. Although, don't talk to him about that. Okada. Let's just say it wasn't good. And it actually broke up that bond, which finally got resolved, apparently. So, Yuya's fired. He's probably going back to New Japan, which, and apparently he's getting a farewell ceremony next week. So, we'll see what happens. We then get a nice, fun one-on-one contest between Trey Miguel and Josh Alexander, and apparently Zachary Wentz is at ringside, in which, damn boy, you nutty. Like, you should definitely not be out there. Definitely a lot of good back and forth. Miguel, at one point, got out of a C4 spike try. At one point, Trey Miguel distracts the ref while Josh Alexander was on the outside. And Wentz, with a big old knee, sends him back in the ring. And then Alex Shelley comes out and takes his title belt right to Zachary Wentz. Josh Alexander hits the C4 spike to pick up the victory. Josh Alexander then takes the microphone, pretty much says, "Thank you, Alex Shelley, for being in my corner tonight, but I could have used it earlier in the year." Alex Shelley then gets in the ring with the microphone, pretty much says, "Don't get your signals mixed. I just wanted to hurt the Rascals. I did not want to help you." Then Josh Alexander retorts, "Alright, I'm not going to get my signals crossed, but it's good that you're out here because I'm taking back my title at Bound for Glory." And that, a little bit later, that match gets set. So we're going to have Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander, Bound for Glory for the world title. Can't wait for that. And actually, speaking of Bound for Glory, another match announced. We're getting Will Ospreay versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Now, we were supposed to get that at the original Multiverse United at WrestleMania week. But, of course, Will Ospreay pulled out because I think he got hurt. So, we're having this match now. We then get Speedball Mike Bailey backstage. He's kind of got his head in his hands. Then in comes Jonathan Gresham. He's like, "Hey, man, how you feeling?" Then Speedball's like, "Yeah, I got my butt kicked out there at Ultimate X, but how are you doing?" Then Josh says, Good. I hear you got a match at Bound for Glory versus Ospreay, and he's been a world champion, and I know my way to the top, and I'm gonna win clean, unlike our matches against the Rascals. And then Mike Bailey retorts, "Yeah, I get it, but now I have got a great idea. Next week, I need a warm-up. It's gonna be you versus me." So, we're getting Bailey versus Gresham 35 at this point. Although, I could watch them wrestle all the time. They're great together. We then get the Rascals backstage. Looks like they're trying to pack up. Then in comes John Skyler of the Good Hands on his own. Pretty much asking, "Look, when are the Good Hands getting our title shots? We've helped you time and time again with the promise we were going to get a title opportunity." Then Trey's like, "Yeah, now's not a good time." Then Skyler retorts, "When is a good time?" And then the ABC walk in. That's Bay and Ace Austin. Pretty much saying, "Oh, you had that deal? Well, now it doesn't matter because we got this briefcase and a title shot." And then Skyler goes kind of face to face with them saying, "You're lucky to have that case because this match should be ours. Right, guys?" Turns around, Rascals bailed. And then Ace and Bay kind of make fun of him saying, "Oh, dude, you got no friends, man." And then Fine Alamo, our main event for Impact Wrestling. And it's the 10-man tag team match playa. As Trinity, the Knockouts champion, Jordynne Grace, Mickie James, Gail Kim, and Awesome Kong team up to take on Deonna Purrazzo, Tasha Steelz, Giselle Shaw, Savannah Evans, and Angelina Love of the Beautiful People. Now, ultimately, Velvet Sky was ringside because apparently she has retired from in-ring competition. But it was good to see her join her fellow stablemate ringside. And honestly, this was really, really tough to kind of keep track of. There were a lot of moving parts. But ultimately, after a couple of clotheslines, choke slams, and an implant buster, your winners, Awesome Kong, Gail Kim, Trinity, and Mickie James and Jordynne Grace. And honestly, this was definitely a chaotic match, but it was still a lot of fun to watch. Definitely going to give this a big old thumbs up. Post-match, Angelina Love hits the Botox injection on Jay Vidal, who is the manager for Shaw and Evans, and then puts a brown paper bag on his head. Bit of a classic Beautiful People move. And Fine Alamo, we got MLW Fusion, a very interesting little promo to start from the Second Gear Crew and Jimmy Lloyd. And Manswerve was like, "Someone feels missing." But right now, Jimmy Lloyd has it covered. Then Jimmy Lloyd pipes up. He says, I'm glad to be in MLW with my boys. And right now, on my mind is Akira. And here in MLW is the perfect place to win some gold. And I'm gonna beat you, Akira. And then Mance Warner continues, yeah, violence. Let's go get some cold beers. And they walk off. We start out our first matchup. You got Nola Kitano taking on Ichiban. In which this was definitely junior heavyweight action at its absolute best. Lots of really good back and forth. But ultimately, your winner after the Ichiban fly, Ichiban, number 1. We then get a Matt Cardona interview. Pretty much says, fighter? No, I'm a superstar. I'm the indie god, and here in MLW, I'm coming for it all. So nice short and sweet promo. We then get Sam Adonis backstage. It looks like he's packing up his shit. And he says, I know where Cesar Duran is. But then ultimately he gets jumped by the Lucha henchman and gets dragged off. So we'll see what happens there. We then get a calling promo, especially from Ricky Shane Page, pretty much saying, everything I've said has come true. I'm the Golden King. I have been baptized in fire by Raven. And now I'm hunting for you. So, nice interesting little promo. We then get a Sessions with Saint Laroque. Pretty much saying, going over current events. Champion Alex Kane, calling out Champion Alex Kane, saying his title is coming to the World Titan Federation. And now let me bring up my guest. It's Becca. Then Becca runs down how Delmy hasn't been around to defend her title. And I've ripped Delmy's star out of the sky. She's not able to handle the heat. And I took her out. And in that point, I did her a favor. So, nice interesting little promo by Becca, hyping up her hopefully upcoming match against Delmy. We then got a Don King promo, as he's the fight captain for the money behind the Boom Fight Club. Pretty much saying, look, I've put pen to paper for this next fight, as Alex Kane defends his title against Davey Boy Smith Jr. for Slaughterhouse. We then get Court Bauer hanging out backstage. Then all of a sudden, Mance Warner rolls up. He says, listen, for Slaughterhouse, I got a great idea. Unrolls his blueprints, going down all the weapons, and it's a cage. I call it the Chamber of Horrors match. Now for this next match, Becca comes back out. She's on commentary as Little Guido takes on Love Doug, who gives Becca a cake at ringside. And we start off with a lockup, but then Love Doug starts dancing with Little Guido. Turns right into action. And nice little back and forth between both of these guys. Guido then goes out of the ring, gets a guitar. I guess that's from Becca. Takes a swing, misses. Right back in his face. And after a big old clothesline, your winner, Love Doug. Then Love Doug goes down the ringside, picks up the cake in front of Becca. Looks like they're about to share it. Then Becca smashes Love Dog's face right in the cake. In which, oh, poor guy. I feel for this dude. He's just a little lovesick puppy, and he just wants a little friend. Then we get the second Gear crew with a promo backstage, including with Matthew Justice taking the lead, saying, "Calling, you wanted to F around, now you're going to find out, and we're going to bring the violence." Then we get a little Selena De La Renta. She's backstage saying, "Look, Halloween is coming, but I'm going to send this joke of a superstar called Microman back to Mexico." And it looks like she has him stuffed in a bag, which is just... that's a little gruesome for me, but whatever. Fine. Our main event of the evening, we got Akira of The Calling taking on Matthew Justice. And we start off with a nice little back and forth. And apparently this was a no DQ match, because they bring out chairs at some point, which... And at one point, Jimmy Lloyd takes on the masked minions sitting ringside. Then Jimmy Lloyd comes out, hits a big old cannonball on Akira, and that throws out the match. Ricky Shane Page then comes out along with Cannonball, who, that's definitely a new member for MLW. They start beating down on Matthew Justice and Jimmy Lloyd. Manders and Mance Warner then come out, make the save. Then Ricky Shane Page and Manders then brawl backstage. Page then sets up a table and a ladder, puts Manders on the table, and hits a big old splash through the table from the ladder to end the show. Overall, a very entertaining show from MLW. I very much enjoyed it. Gonna be interesting to see where they go with this rivalry from the second Gear crew and The Calling. And yeah, that's it for the first part of the week for pro wrestling. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, share this video all over. Let me know what your favorite part of the week of pro wrestling is. So, next Monday, obviously, I'll finish the week. That's going to be Ring of Honor, SmackDown, Rampage, and Collision. So, that should be a fun one to cover. And then also, I'm getting my predictions ready for AEW Wrestle Dream, which is next Sunday, I believe. So, stay tuned for all of that. And until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.